So today I'm going to show you how to build a RAG agent from scratch. And don't worry, I've never wrote a line of code in my life. I am one of you guys. I'm a complete newbie to this. And I promise you by the end of this, you're going to have a full working AI agent. So basically this thing acts as like a super memory. So you can sell this to a company because you can upload all their internal documents into it. And this AI agent can answer any questions on the company's documents. So this thing can act as an AI employee. So let's just get straight into it. And you might be thinking, Vaughn, what is a RAG agent? Why do I need to know how to build this? But RAG stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. And I know that sounds pretty complicated, but I promise you, I've never wrote code in my life. I'm not a technical person, and you're going to be able to understand this by the end. But essentially, there's two parts to this agent. So one part, what it's going to do is, you're going to have a Google Drive, say it's got all your company information in, about the company, about the HR policies. And what we want to do with this data is embed it into a database. So embedding is basically when you sort of put the text into a database that can break it down and search it in chunks or in paragraphs. Instead of you sort of just relying on the memory of ChatGPT, you're going to have a database that's going to show all the different relationships between bits of text. So you can find contextual connections between the text. So instead of, for example, just searching for the word dog in a database, this can see the context of the whole line. So it can see the dog has died. So it would have the context that, possibly this is a negative statement. So what we're using is a vector database, and this vector database is going to allow us to store the data in it. Then the second part, this is where we can ask questions about the data in this database. And this is the agent part of it. So we're going to have a chat, similar to like a ChatGPT chat, and we can prompt it and ask it questions, ask the AI agent about these documents in the database. A more simple way to look at it is if you imagine, a librarian asks you to go into the library and find all the books that are on space. Whereas instead of going through all the books and trying to find out which ones are about space, this database is going to allow us to index all of them books, so we can just see an index of all the books in the library that are about space. This makes it so much easier for LLMs, that's hard to say, to store data and read it and feed it back to us. So we're on the Mac now, and let's just get ahead and build this thing. So as I said to you before, there is actually two parts to this. So also, if you don't have an N8N account, that was hard to say, I've done it right, then sign up for this. You can actually get a free trial, but you might want to pay for it eventually. But once you've signed up to N8N, I'll leave the link in the bio. All we're going to do is go to this plus button. We're going to go to workflow, and then we're going to go to personal. And then it's going to create us a workflow that looks like this. And this is what we're actually going to be building today. So I'm just going to leave this one without saving. And there is two parts to it. So this is the first part of the RAG agent. So this is the bit which processes the document. So anything that's put into the company's Google Drive. So this is the Google Drive trigger here. This agent's going to download it, and then it's going to put it into a vector database, which was what I was telling you about before, which basically just acts as the memory for the agent. And then don't worry about this too much. I didn't understand these at first when I was first getting started with it. But this just basically breaks down the data so it can be more easily stored in this database. So that's the first part. That's the document processing. And then the second part is going to be how we're going to actually speak to this data and ask questions on it. So when the chat is received, so we can ask questions. The AI agent is going to search the Pinecone vector database if it's needed. And we also need to have a memory and a model for these, but I'm going to get into that now. So let's just build the first one. So as I said, I'm going to press this plus, go to personal, and then we're going to add the first step. And the first step we're going to add is Google Drive. And then we're just going to do this one here on changes involving a specific folder. And your account, if it's brand new, won't have your Google Drive account here. So what we're going to need to do is add new credentials. So how we're going to do that is we're just going to press this drop down here. We're going to go to create new credentials, and then it's going to give you this URI here, which we're going to need in a little bit. But what we need to do first off is go to Google Drive, and we're actually going to create a folder called RAG files. So I've already got one here, but you would just press new folder. And then what you're going to do is just drop a simple PDF that you have on your computer in here. So I've just put this PDF about the shareholders for Amazon. Just for example, this is just to test the thing. So you'll have this folder called RAG files. And then next what we need to do is go to the Google Cloud Console. So I'll leave this below as well. But basically, once you've logged in or signed up for this, then it's going to bring you to this screen. And then all we need to do here is press this little one, or it might say new project for you in the corner. We're going to press this. We're going to press create new project, and then we're just going to call this RAG agent. I'm going to call it RAG demo, and then we're just going to press create, and then we can either select it from here if it's not selected already, but I'm just going to select it just to show you how. And then what we need to do is go down to APIs and services here. And then what we need to do is press this button here that says enable APIs and services. And we're just going to scroll down until we see the Google Drive API. And if for whatever reason it's not here, you can just search it in here. And then what we're going to do is enable it here. So we're just going to enable that. Then we're going to go to the OAuth consent screen. We're going to go here. And then all we're going to do is press get started. We're going to name this app. So we're just going to call it RAG demo. You can call it, something along the lines of RAG. You're going to put your email in. So it's going to ask for your email. And then we're going to go with this external option here. I'm going to press next. And then it might ask you for your email again. I'm just going to press next. Let's put a fake one in. I'm going to press next. And then we're going to press agree. And then we're going to go continue and then create. And then what we're going to do here is go to this OAuth client. And we need to select the application type as web application. And then this is the URI I was telling you about that we're going to get from N8N now. So we're going to go back to N8N and we are going to copy this one here. So we're going to copy this and then we're going to go back to the console here and we're going to add this URI in here. And then we're going to press create. And then what you'll need to do is you will have a secret key here. I've already done this, but you need to copy this client ID here. You need to go back to it, paste it in here like that. And then you need to also put your client secret in. So you will get a secret below this when you first do this. And then we need to go to audience here and we're just going to publish this app. And then what's going to happen, once you've done that, you're going to get a box that comes up here. You're going to sign in with this. Mine won't work because I've already signed in. And if it doesn't let you go through, then just press advance. It might say like, oh, we're not sure if this website's secure. Just press the advancing and then select them and then press agree. And then you're going to be all connected. So I'm not going to do that because I'm already connected to my other account. But then once this account is in here, I'm just going to go back to my old one. And then we can go down and select this RAG folder that we made before. And then what we can do is just search RAG, select RAG files. And then we're going to do this one as file created. Test fetch event. We're going to fetch test events. That's a tongue twister for you. And then we should get some data come through here. So it's going to tell me, what's in that Google Drive. So we should see the Jeff Bezos Amazon shareholder letters just there. So next we need to add the database or the Pinecone vector store. So I'm just going to put this in here, but there actually is one more step actually that we need to do. So you need to go to Pinecone. So you need to go to this website here. I will leave a link below. This is the pricing for it, but you can actually set up for free. I'm still on a free account on this, so it really doesn't matter. And then what you need to do is log in or sign up. And then once you signed up, you should see a screen that's similar to this. But what you want to do is go to create index, and then we're going to go to text embedding 3 small here. And then we're just going to give it a name. So we're going to call it RAG hyphen, is that a hyphen? Database? Database, mate. We're going to give it a name and we're going to call it RAG database. And then we're just going to create this index. And mine already exists, so I'm going to do that. And then once you've done that, what you need to do is go to API keys and you want to create a new API key. And you're just going to call this RAG. And then once you get that key, you're going to copy and paste it into this. So we're going to go back to N8N and then we're going to go with add documents to vector store. Now, my account's already in here again, but similar thing with the credentials. You're going to take that API key here. You're going to go to create new credentials and you're going to add your API key in there and then you'll be connected. So what we're going to do here is then select the RAG database that we've just created inside Pinecone. And then for now, what we're going to do is just delete this connection here because we need to add another step in. So now we're going to go back to Google Drive. And this time it's going to be download file. And then what we're going to do, you're going to press, if these aren't showing up here for you, you're just going to press test event and it'll pull this data through from the file. And then what we're going to do for this section here where it says file, we're going to change this to ID. And then what we're going to do is look for a section that says thumbnail, because you might be tempted to use one of these IDs up here. But what we want to do is look for the section where it says thumbnail, and we're going to use the ID under that. So has thumbnail, there we go. So we're going to use this one. That's just the way I like to remember it. And we're going to drag this into here like that. Then we're just going to press back to canvas here. And then as you can see here, it needs an embedding model and it also needs a document processor. So that's what we're going to do next. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to go with the OpenAI one because we want to use the same one that we did for Pinecone. I'm going to add this in here. We should already have our OpenAI account connected. So if your OpenAI account isn't connected here already, then this is how you can connect it. So you're going to go to platform.openai.com and then you're going to log in. Or sign up, sorry. If you don't have an account, then you'll need to sign up. So we're going to go to this billing section here, and you're going to make sure that you've got credit on your account because you're going to need it. Although, as you can see, I've run this, probably hundreds of times. It's only used like 1p. So it's really not that much money, but just upload a little bit of money there, £10 enough, so we can actually run this agent because it requires API tokens. And then what we can do from here is we go to API keys, and we can create a new secret key, and we can call this RAG agent, whatever. As you can see, I've already done this. You're then going to copy and paste this API back into N8N when you press create new credentials here like this. You're going to put that key in, and then you're just going to press save, and then your account will be connected. Then we can just click out of this, and then what we need to do is add a document processing thing. So this is the thing that basically breaks the text down into smaller chunks so that it can be easily read by a large language model. So we're just going to use the default data loader here, and where it says type of data, we actually want to change this to binary because this is binary data coming through, and we're just going to leave this as load all input data. And then we want this to automatically detect what type of data it is coming through. And then we're just going to add a option here. So we're going to add a metadata option, add property, and we're just going to call it file name. And then we're going to execute these previous nodes here. And I don't know why this is not working. That might be why. We're going to connect this back up, and then we're going to try this again. Make sure my Google Drive is the right account. No, it's not. Doing test that step. There we go, it's come through now. So we're going to fix this to binary file name, and then we should see this here. And what we're going to do is switch this table over to we're going to switch data over to a table, and then we're going to look for the section that says file name, and we're just going to drag this in here. And then we're going to add a recursive text splitter. So this is the last step of it. And we can play around with this chunk size, but basically is the size of essentially the paragraphs that it's going to break it down into for context when it's inside the database. So play around with this. I'm going to keep this on 1000, put this on 500, but you can play around with this to see what really suits you. And then I'm just going to go back, and you can see the data pulling through here. I'm just going to test this workflow. And as you can see, that's all working. So now we need to build the second part. So this is the RAG agent bit. This is the bit that's going to allow us to actually speak to this and ask questions on the data. So again, we're just going to press this plus button here. We're going to go to workflow. We're going to go to personal. And I'm not going to save this one because I've just actually built this from scratch, but I already have this. So I'm just going to leave it without saving and destroy all that beautiful work. But now we're just going to add on chat trigger. So we're going to add this on chat message here. We're not going to make it publicly available. We're just going to click out of this for now. So next we're going to press this plus. It's going to bring up this. We're going to go to advanced agent. We're going to go to AI agent, and then we're just going to leave this as tools agent. So we're going to give this agent a model to use. So we're just going to use OpenAI again, and then we're just going to leave the model as it is, mini, and then this account should already be connected. And then we're just going to click out of this. And then we're going to give it a memory as well. So a little window buffer memory is going to be just fine for this type of thing. So it's going to have a context window of 5. So it can remember things that we said sort of previously in 5 different conversations. And then we're going to give it a tool, because this is a tools agent. So this agent can use whatever it's given to complete certain tasks. So I'm going to give it a tool or Pinecone vector store. And then our database should already be connected. We're going to call this our Pinecone vector. And then we can give it custom instructions here. We're just going to select this list as well. So we're going to select the RAG database. And then we can give it instructions. For example, I want you to retrieve information from the Pinecone vector store on request through the chat node. And we'll just test this out. I'm just going to give this a quick test. And we also need to add embedded models. So again, we're just going to use the OpenAI. We're going to go with that. Text 3 small, back to canvas, and then we're going to test this thing out. So, and here's what I made earlier. And what we're going to do here, I've just said to it here, can you retrieve data from the vector store? And I'm going to say, I want you to retrieve data on the Jeff Bezos document. So I'm going to say on the Amazon shareholder letters. And as you can see here, it's searching this database. So the agent is then using this database, searching, and then it comes back with a response on that data. So, this thing is so powerful because, as I said to you, this acts as unlimited memory. So you can sell this to a business because it can basically act as an employee, can answer any questions on the business, anything on certain policy. This thing's absolutely amazing. So if you need some help with this, or you want a pre-built template or anything like that, just drop me a message and I'll send them over to you. So thanks for watching.